What's that? Pete's not gonna be here tonight?
Well, he's in a training for the county. Didn't know if he'd be out in time. I said, it isn't a huge agenda, so if you miss it, you miss it.
We're going to call the village council meeting to order. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I usually do this before the pledge. Welcome everybody to the Village Hall. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order tonight of the March 4th, 2024 Village Council meeting. The roll call.
President Dyke.
Present.
President Pro Tem Steffler. Present. Councilmember Feldman. Councilmember Glasser.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Present.
Councilmember Powell.
Present.
Councilmember Schneider.
Present.
Approval of the agenda. Because the utility billing is a discussion item and that has not been discussed before, I would propose we move it off the agenda into open discussion. Is there any opposition to that? Any other changes or additions to the proposed agenda tonight? Being none, communications, good news from Great Lakes Water Authority. If I'm reading this right, it's going to be a proposed 7.38, or is that just general?
If that's general. I did calculations if everything remains this equal. It's an approximate 6.6% increase in our cost of water.
Other than 7.38.
Right.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the Great Lakes Water Authority memo on proposed rates for 2025-26? Second communication is the Lapeer County EMS 2024 year in review. Does anybody have any comments on the Lapeer County year in review for the Lapeer County EMS? And the third communication is Lapeer County EMS January 2025 report of calls and runs. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Being none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, public hearing minutes for the public hearing for the abatement issue, February 18th minutes. Regular meeting minutes, February 18th council meeting. Any comments or questions? Changes, edits? General fund? Major streets? Local streets? Downtown Development Authority fund? Sewer fund? Water fund? Equipment fund? Payroll register report. Anybody have any questions on anything regarding the consent agenda or the 2 minutes, the public hearing or council meeting minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support. Motion by President Pro Tem Steffler, seconded by Councilmember Glasser to approve the consent agenda as proposed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The consent agenda passes. Consent agenda passes by unanimously by all council members present. Moving on to public comment for any regular agenda item. Do we have any public comment tonight for any regular agenda item? Being none, we'll move on to the regular agenda. The regular agenda is the DDA reappointment of Scott White. I'll first precipice that we generally like to have the person that is being appointed or reappointed in person. In Scott's case, he is transitioning between two jobs right now. His schedule is very heavy. And for anybody that's been paying attention, he's been on the DDA 2 to 3 months and has put in yeoman's work in that time, including being named the treasurer at the last DDA meeting. He's been very involved with events, including the chili crawl that recently happened. And he is on the subcommittee and has done vigorous work with the subcommittee and was even with us for 2.5 hours last night. So with that being said, Scott is not present tonight, but that should not have any influence in any way because he's been a dedicated member. So with that said, the DDA at their last meeting voted to recommend Scott be reappointed to a term which would expire, it was due to expire March 31st, 2029, or it was due to expire March 31st, 2025. So as president, I'm going to appoint Scott as a member of the DDA through a term to expire March 31st, 2029, and would ask that council ratify that appointment. Any questions? Do we have a motion of ratification?
I'll make the motion that we ratify the appointment of Mr. White to the DDA board with a term ending March 31st, 2029.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Stepler, or President Pro Tem Stepler, supported by Councilmember Snyder to ratify my appointment of Scott White to the DDA with a term expiring March 31st, 2029. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. I abstain since I'm doing the appointment, and the motion passes unanimously by all council members present. On a sad note, on February 12th, Miss Ashlyn Glasser, who is one of the youngest serving members of the DDA ever, I would suppose, and has done a great amount of work for that board over the last 2 to 3 years. Sadly, with her school and work schedule, has submitted her letter of resignation. So the director's requesting, the DDA board accepted the resignation of Ashlyn at the February 26, 2025 meeting. And I am going to accept Ashlyn's resignation, thank her for her dedicated service, let her know that she'll be missed, and we appreciate the service that she did provide. And I will accept that resignation and ask council to ratify my acceptance of the resignation. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion that we ratify your acceptance of the resignation of Ms. Glasser from the DDA board.
Support.
Motion by President Pro Tem Stepler, supported by Councilmember Snyder, to ratify the president's acceptance of Ashlyn Glasser's resignation from the DDA. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
I abstain. The motion passes by all council members present,
Excuse me,
except for those abstaining. But
Do you want to amend the motion to allow the DDA director to post the vacancy?
oh yeah, was that, did I miss
Or do
that?
you want to do a separate motion?
Or separate?
You can do a separate motion instead of amending that.
Okay, let's just do a separate one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that. My bad. I would ask for a motion to allow the DDA executive director to advertise for one DDA board position that would expire March 31st, 2026.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Stepler, supported by Councilmember Snyder, to allow the DDA executive director to advertise for one DDA board position that would expire March 31st, 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes by all council members in attendance. That concludes the regular agenda items tonight. If you did get here late, we moved number 3 utility billing under open discussion, so we'll be talking about that in just a second. And now is time for public comment on any non-agenda item.
Hi, Paula Alfonsi. I'm here to address the social district drinking. Way back when it was approved, the comment was made that if it didn't work, it could always be rescinded. And I would ask that the board kind of consider doing that. In the past, I would say 6-8 months, I have pictures that I can provide for all of you of people drinking out in the parking lot out of their cars, and they're not in special cups. With the chili crawl, as awesome as it was, they experienced some business owners on the west side, experienced a group coming into their stores with a margarita and beer in the cups. And so none of the rules are being followed. Oh, and then there was kids. Apparently one of the bars was giving the kids their drinks in the cups. And kids were walking around town with the social district drinking cups. So a lot of the rules, there was no police presence. And the police, I think, have a lot, they're busy. They're busy. It's not like they're sitting on their laurels. But I just think a lot of the rules, and I think a lot of people don't even understand, just like the people were oblivious walking all over town with it. And, you know, there's signs saying that's where they're supposed to be. But I think I would hope that you guys would consider shutting it down. Okay, thanks.
Oh, appreciate your time. Anybody else have public comment tonight on non-agenda items? Being none, we will move to open discussion, utility billing. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Kiesler.
Well, I wasn't sure where we wanted to start on the discussion, so me being treasurer, I went to the money side. So I did a cost analysis of what it would take to move from quarterly billing to monthly billing. That's included in your packet. I did offer options because there would be quite a cost of providing that monthly service. We could just absorb that in our current rates. However, I think it defeats the purpose of our 10-year plan that included a little bit being set aside for capital projects. So it would take away from that capital project savings. The other alternative is to add an admin fee, which increases cost for the entire village, instead of focusing on the residents that may have problems paying those water bills. So I'm not sure where you want to go with the conversation.
Since I was the one who asked to put this up for discussion, and appreciate the financial breakdown, Kim. I think that's helpful and something that needs to be evaluated as part of moving or not to a different billing frequency. As I stated before, I do think that our bills are only going to increase. As we just heard, Great Lakes Water Authority will be increasing our rates 6.6, around that, this year, in addition to our normal rate adjustment that we're doing in order to try and build up our capital fund so that we can make improvements and necessary repairs. I just feel that I moved to the village 18 years ago. And it was a shock then coming from a larger city out to this one where we don't get the economy of scale for a wastewater treatment plant in particular. And that was probably $200 a quarter ago. So when we first moved, it was probably about $250 a month. My most recent bill was $450 a month. That's for a family of 5, buying all the energy efficient appliances that we can and, you know, trying to do what we can to save water. That's a real burden for people. It's hard to account for in a budget in that way. I think we have tried to take steps in the past 5 years, and I brought this up before, to encourage people to make monthly payments. And I think we've had a little bit of success with that. More people are taking advantage of that. But it just doesn't get the same results, I think, as you do when you get a monthly bill. You have a greater opportunity to see if you have a leak and to stop it before it snowballs into something that gets out of control. It allows people to budget better. Times are very hard for people right now, and having a bill come in that's larger than expected can really put people off and put them on a pathway where it makes it harder for them to come back from. You know, those are all the reasons why I advocate for it and will continue to do so. I appreciate having the costs in front of us so we can make an informed decision. It could be, if we decide the costs are too high for monthly, every other month would be a step, I think, in the right direction. But this is basically my starting point. Is I'm just looking out for the residents, and I want to do the very best that we can to make life easier for them in times when it seems like they're getting harder and harder. I did a quick poll of people that I had their cell phone numbers for, and could just do a quick, what do you think, monthly or quarterly? Not leading with them with my opinion. Overwhelmingly came back monthly. This is a very small sample size, but one person said quarterly, and everyone else said monthly. Out of the 8 responses I got back in before the council meeting, so obviously very small sample size. And if we were to want to continue these discussions, I think public feedback and input would be important. There could be an equal number of people who feel that it's more convenient. They don't want to pay another bill once a month. And I think those voices would be valid to hear too. So I've been talking long enough. I'll let people jump in.
I reached out to a bunch of people in Washington Township. They just went through this. And
Okay.
it was a mixed bag. Like you said, they're 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel the same way you do. I feel would want a better poll of what people would want.
So, do we have the opportunity to, if you want to have a monthly bill? I know this will be an absolute headache and madness for you. If you wanted a monthly bill and you were willing to pay a service fee to get a monthly bill versus a quarterly bill, because I completely agree that it does. If 90+% pay on time and it's quarterly, and now all of a sudden you're going to get an additional fee added on for the convenience of a 10% of the populace, that's kind of like being penalized for somebody else speeding. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you wanted to pay extra to get it monthly, is that something that we could consider?
Never looks over at me. Mr. President. Sorry, waving my hand.
Mr. Dale.
Yeah, I should have a button. Or that just lights up. Kim did a great job with this review. I just did a perusal of it. So she did exactly what I think we should have had in front of us for tonight. And I want to thank her for doing that. But I want you to know that we regularly encourage people for no fee to pay on a monthly basis. It's offered all the time, and we have a small percentage that do, but as you can see, it's less than 2% that are late, and it is very much the same exact group that are late every month. So it'd be nice if we could cut some of our costs related to water, but because times are tough, the things that we run into sometimes, the hostility of the customers requires us to have 2 people go to shutoffs. So that's 2 people in a truck. There's different things that I think would increase, going to monthly would increase our exposure to more visceral reaction from the public on a monthly basis instead of a quarterly basis. Because the people that are going to do something about it are doing it already. They're paying on a monthly basis. They're trying to manage their usage like you're doing. And we're fine to do whatever the council directs us. But again, there is a definite cost to going monthly. It's very significant, about $45,000 a year. That's this year's cost.
And I would say I would propose that we don't move to shut off people's water on a monthly basis. That's not how our other utilities work. If you forget to pay, they don't shut off your electric 10 days later. I would say we would keep our same 90-day cutoff, but that's just my opinion.
Is this counterproductive, though? If the whole idea is to ease the burden and the impact, and by doing this, we're just increasing everyone's bills because of the cost of doing so, is it kind of counterproductive? That's my first concern, because I get the reason why you want to do it, and I'm just wondering if it doesn't achieve the goal you're looking for.
Yeah, well, and I think too, we have made some changes in our investments. And Kim, I wondered if those changes would cover any portion of the increased cost.
But you use water funds too.
But those are some that we are investing.
Right. Right.
So we have done something to help
Right.
increase our funds. And maybe that's something that we can consider to say, well, over the past year, we've made this change. And maybe some of that our residents could take advantage of more immediately in terms of having a more manageable billing cycle.
Just how much of that can we use to offset these numbers is what I'm wondering.
Right. And how long are these interest rates going to be
Yep.
at this level?
They're only going to rise.
So the one question I do have, so the intent that, I just want to make sure I understand where you come from, Mindy. It's the visibility of what is my bill on a monthly basis and what is my usage on a monthly basis so I can budget appropriately, right? So instead of having to pay it monthly, do we have the ability for people to self-serve and see what is their usage, like to have a portal that they can go to? I mean, we drive around monthly. Do we do it monthly just to drive around and capture usage, or we just do it quarterly?
No, I mean, we do drive around, but we don't drive around the whole entire village every day.
Not every day.
I'm just thinking if you could make the information, the data available to people to look at, then at least that doesn't
Engage
necessarily
their
cost us
usage.
a whole lot of money, but they can go and look, and it's kind of like your online bank account, right? Well, how did I use 3,000 gallons last month?
We estimate it now monthly for anybody, but you're not getting actual read. To get actual read would be that increase in labor cost of
For the
$13,000 annually for them to do that.
That's better than the 45 to 60,000.
Well, because it's part and parcel of it. That would just get you to be able to get the reading for the data, and then somebody's going to have to compute that data into a portal. So you're going to have extra staff time, maybe not the total of processing, but
I've wondered about our smart meters and like how smart are they?
They're a lot smarter than we probably take advantage of.
Because one of my coworkers lives in a different community, and she's got an app on her phone so she can see her usage whenever she wants and help identify like, hey, something's going on. I don't know if our meters have that capability or if they don't. I don't know what generation we
The
have.
avenue we want to have Kim research is
I think that's definitely a good idea. We do currently have the ability to look at what's happening virtually by the minute, but I don't know if we can open that information up to the entire, to the public through our system. I don't know why we couldn't, so we'll definitely do that research.
Yeah, and as far as the extra DPW time, I mean, that was one of the selling points of these meters, is that they're gathering this information every day while they're doing their everyday work.
Yeah.
So how much additional time actually do they need to take?
Well, they just purposely have to go through
There's
all of the village in order to get all of the reads. Now, they do have a fixed meter reading system. The initial cost was what, $40,000? And basically it would be, they'd build a tower and it would just constantly read.
maybe that's what they're using.
It could be, but we can definitely look into that. That was,
Like, what
that was,
capability do we have?
yeah.
And actually provide us information we'd like to have too, on a daily basis.
Correct. I mean, I just hear about people with $700 water bills,
Yes, because they
$500
can,
water bills.
I know he did mention that you can set up where it will send emails if there's a high consumption, if there's a continuous leak or continuous flow, that type of thing. But I don't know if that was just with the fixed system or if it's with our current system, so I can research into that.
Any other comments or questions from council? So are you comfortable, next steps, researching the availability? Go ahead, Kim.
Another option is, and I have to discuss this with the bank, is doing ACH for those,
See,
where it basically takes out of your bank account
Oh, okay.
automatically.
okay.
I mean, there was a slight fee, but I would have to look at that to see. Maybe that would help because postcards get lost. They get stuck in a pile for 2 months before it's due, and they just get forgotten about. So, but I'm a little worried if it's ACH, if it just automatically comes out of somebody's account when they're not expecting it.
Right, and they don't know what amount they're gonna pay.
Right. So I don't know if that's an option you want me to look into
I
as well.
would like to know how it would work. I mean, I like that we have the option of digitally paying now, but the bills are so high and the rate you have to pay, it's just never going to be worth it to do that. I mean,
Right.
I'd have to be out of the country to want to do that. And for the only reason it would be reasonable.
Right.
An additional 3%, correct? Is paying
3% for credit cards. I think it's $2 for e-checks.
Right. It's just it being a percentage of a total rather
Right.
than a set standard processing fee, which is what you would deal with almost any other government processing system. It being a percentage of your entire total. If you've got a $500-600 water bill, it's a pretty penny for the convenience of paying online.
Yeah. It's a big chunk. Another question I had was if there would be an ordinance change or fee structure change that would be needed to move to billing. That's what I thought.
Yes. And also we would have to convert our current system from quarterly to monthly. The SNA would support us in that. Of course, we would be charged for that. So
Would you have an estimated staff time that would take to do that plus the charge?
that would, I would say that would take a good 2 weeks, I would think. It's a lot of conversions, and then we would have to amend the ordinance. We would have to amend our payment plan, possibly our leak credit, because our leak credit, you're allowed 1 credit every 2 years Well, if you get a leak credit on 1 month's bill and have to wait 2 years again, you know, it's just those minor things that we would have to adjust.
Questions from council?
I have a slightly related topic. I know this topic was mostly focused around the convenience of switching to monthly billing. I'm kind of more concerned about just the overall price, like, of water bills, and I'm wondering if there's appetite for discussion on different options we can look at to reduce the bills that we're paying. So, like, just some things I was brainstorming is like looking at the flat rate versus the per 1,000 gallon rate. Cause I know in the last DDA meeting, they were talking about paying the flat rate at the Legion Hall, and they haven't even been using it. And is there something we can do, like change the tiers around that could incentivize like lower water usage or something like that?
Well, the flat rate is calculated where 100% of our bond payment is included in that, because we have to make our bond payment. So we have to make sure that is paid, and that's why there's that flat rate on all active accounts. And there's a slight percentage.
The flat rate is really designed as a ready-to-serve charge. So the cost of the existing system sitting there has X number of costs, like Kim mentioned, no matter what. And that's what usually develops our flat rate. So it's very fair because it's consistent across certain size of meter. But yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. And one of the things I have to tell people when they do have a leak and they have an enormous water bill is, unfortunately, we don't own the water. It's not like we can waive the charge because we pumped it. We have to pay someone for that water, and it's really a pass-through. So it's tough to reduce the cost of water. You know that we're looking at ways to reduce the other side of the charge, the treatment of the usage of the water. So maybe we can see some savings there down the road.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's sort of misunderstood, is that it's the water bill, right? It's the water sewer bill. And when you look at it, the sewer charge is the larger of the charges. And that's what I was referring to, the economy of scale, is we don't have that many citizens to support a wastewater treatment plant.
Just to clarify, we're not just paying for the water, we're paying for the infrastructure
Absolutely.
that maintains the water within the village itself also.
All of the infrastructure, the piping, the facility, the billing, the checking of the meters, the repairs, the ons, the offs. There's so many costs that go into it. Any ideas you have as to minimizing it, or anyone does, we're always welcome to hear it. We love it. It's just there aren't a lot of real effective methods we can to reduce it. It is an ever rising cost, and we will continue to have to pump more money into the capital improvement of it. So the costs will only ever go up. There's no way to substantially reduce it that we've ever found that's actually effective. We'd love to, but the reality is expansion of the system and economy of scale by adding more customers is the only pragmatic and realistic way to ever bring it down. And that's the unfortunate truth. Would mean we need a lot more people on the water system. And if we do, we need significant upgrades to our wastewater treatment plant to be able to help it, which again, increase costs. It's a vicious cycle of cost.
Another thing too is we don't have a lot of industrial, where the big cities down, south of us do, that can absorb most of that cost.
Suggestions or questions from council? Is staff clear on next direction?
I know there's some discomfort with the costs associated with this. Would council be interested in seeing an every other month cost breakdown?
I'm open to seeing any of the numbers. Yeah.
Kim's amenable to crunching some numbers again. Sure. That could be a middle ground.
So what I have is do a cost analysis on the bi-monthly. see if we have the ability to get our customers to see their consumption online either or through an app. Look into that fixed system as well. See what cost associated is with that and ACH.
And some information on our investments that we've made with our cash on hand, the specific water sewer funds.
Sure.
On that topic, that ends open discussion. Mr. Curberson, do you have anything to bring to council?
I wanted to again congratulate Kim on getting the new computer in and installed so that hopefully we're streaming flawlessly this evening.
I didn't know it was in.
It seems like we must be because nobody's phones are.
Getting text messages tonight.
That, the uncovering of the reason led us down a path that we were already looking at for budget in the fact that we have significantly older operating system on the computers and the computers themselves. We had the gentleman that came and looked at our system and helped us install this unit, said that we were in good shape server-wise for several years, but our individual the desktops are needing upgrades, so we're in the process of pricing that. And we're considering the cost we spend now to get the software and computer maintenance is fairly excessive, and they're not based locally. We have since uncovered, we found a company locally that can help us with the physical day-to-day issues we have with the computer, but they've also proven to be very, very good at the system, the network, and so on. So we're going to look at pricing with them for IT maintenance and security. And I think we will see a significant savings there in our budget.
Yours are reporting that it's beautiful.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you, viewers.
Do we have a filter?
It's a
The
Snapchat filter.
the other item I wanted to report, I received a note from Consumers Energy today that they are putting out a program called Put Your Community on the Map. They do these community support efforts here and there, year to year. It made me think about one of our topics that we've discussed over and over, and that is our entrance signs and our logo. So I talked to Angela about preparing an application for this grant to propose input from the public, be it the high school kids, college kids, individuals around the community, to give us different logo offers, examples, and then we select a winner and use the grant dollars to install new signs at the entrance and upgrade our placemaking efforts, like our letterhead and that sort of stuff that we've been talking about doing now for about a year. Angela was really in tune to the idea, so we're going to prepare an application. Hopefully, we see some success and we get voted in as one of their awards, and then we can go forward with the program as we get down the road. And we will come back to the next meeting and ask for your approval to submit the grant so that you're aware of what we're looking at doing. And we have just enough time to get it in front of the council the next meeting and then get it off to consumers. So hopefully the prizes are $10,000, $15,000, or $25,000. So, if we offer a cash prize for the logo we select and then put the balance into new signs, we should be able to at least get one entrance sign out of those costs, hopefully. So, and that's it.
Ms. Keiser,
No, sir.
Councilmember Glasser, Councilmember Feldman,
Oh, apologize for being late. Got tied up. Couldn't get away.
Councilmember
At this time?
Stuffler, or President Pro Tem Stuffler. I apologize.
Just a quick update on the parks. So the park board has been hard at work, looking at ideas for repurposing of the old tennis courts. We're looking at a company based in Auburn Hills that has experience in doing like an overlay with striping. And it sounds promising, as are some leads we have for funding. So those all sound good. This is the farthest along we've seen this project get so far. So I'm very encouraged that we may see this come to fruition yet. We are talking numbers and beginning the process of putting together a budget. So Kim, I don't know if they've reached out to you.
Next week.
So I that's also encouraging, and looking forward to what we're going to do with the park this year. Also, just wanted to put it out there that the park will be part of the Earth Day cleanup, covering the downtown areas, as well as the park. So hope to see people there. You can sign up by the website, email, Facebook. If you want to help clean up, I'm sure there's a way to get a hold of us. That's all I have.
Councilmember Paul,
What's up?
Councilmember Miller.
Just thank Kim for all the work that you did on this for the water. That's it.
We are adjourned. Students, you can come up and get your agenda signed. Thank you for attending tonight, everybody.